Imagine waking up tomorrow morning. You look at your bank account, and the balance is exactly zero. No savings, no stocks, no safety net. For many, this is the ultimate nightmare. It is a source of panic, anxiety, and fear. But let me ask you to view it differently. Let me ask you to view it through my eyes. If I were stripped of my billions, my holding company, and my entire portfolio, leaving me with nothing but the clothes on my back and the year 2026 ahead of me, I would not panic. I would not chase the latest cryptocurrency. I would not look for a lottery ticket. I would pause. I would think. And then I would execute a plan based on principles that have survived every recession, boom, of the last century. The truth is, starting from zero is not a tragedy. It is a clearing of the deck. The biggest mistake people make when they have nothing is trying to get everything immediately. They try to sprint a marathon and they collapse before the first mile. If you are starting 2026 with financial difficulties or simply want to rebuild your wealth on a rock-solid foundation, you must stop looking for a get-rich-quick scheme. Those do not exist. Instead, I'm going to walk you through the get-rich-slow method. It is the method that built Berkshire Hathaway. It is the method that works whether the market is up or down. Today, I am going to break down exactly how I would navigate the modern economy starting from absolute scratch. This is not about magic tricks. It is about simple, ruthless arithmetic and the power of patience. If you are ready to stop gambling and start building, this is my plan. Why do most people fail when they try to build wealth? It isn't because they lack intelligence. It is not because the system is rigged against them, though it can often feel that way. The primary reason people stay at zero is because they're in a rush. When you have no money, the pressure to make money fast is overwhelming. You see peers on social media buying new cars or traveling to exotic locations, and you feel left behind. This emotion, envy combined with impatience, is the greatest enemy of your wallet. In 2026, the noise is louder than ever. The internet screams at you to day trade, to flip real estate with no money down, or to leverage yourself to the hilt. But if you look at the history of financial disasters, they almost all stem from leverage and impatience. If I started with nothing, my first move would be psychological, not financial. I would accept my current reality. I would understand that time is my friend, not my enemy. I once famously said, no matter how great the talent or efforts, some things just take time. You can't produce a baby in 1 month by getting 9 women pregnant. The problem most of us face is that we try to produce that wealth in 1 month. We take unnecessary risks because we are desperate to escape zero. But to build a skyscraper, you must first dig a deep hole for the foundation. The higher you want to go, the deeper you must dig. Starting with zero in 2026 is your digging phase. It is boring. It is unglamorous. Nobody will applaud you for it. But without it, anything you build will eventually collapse. The first step of my plan is to resign myself to the fact that this will take time. And that is perfectly okay. If I have $0, I cannot invest in the stock market. I cannot buy real estate. I cannot buy businesses. So what do I invest in? I invest in the only asset that cannot be taxed, stolen, or inflated away, myself. I have often told students that the best investment they can make is in their own abilities. If you are the best at what you do, you will command a share of the national economic pie, regardless of what the currency does. In 2026, this is more true than ever. If I am starting with nothing, my immediate goal is to increase my earning power. This doesn't necessarily mean going back to university to accumulate debt. It means refining a skill that the marketplace values. Perhaps the most underrated skill, and one I emphasize constantly, is communication. The ability to write clearly and speak clearly can increase your value by 50% instantly. If you cannot communicate your ideas, it's like winking at a girl in the dark. Nothing happens. So my plan begins here. I look at my day. Am I spending my free time consuming entertainment, or am I sharpening my tool? Can I learn to sell? Can I learn to code? Can I learn to manage people? The goal in the early stages of 2026 is to trade my time for money at the highest possible rate. I must become a machine of productivity. I am the factory. Before I can buy stocks in other companies, I must make my own personal company, my labor, profitable. This requires reading, learning, and working harder than the person next to me. It is old-fashioned advice, but it is the fuel for the engine. Once I begin generating income through my work, the next trap appears. It is the trap of lifestyle inflation. When you have been at zero, the moment you get money, the temptation is to spend it to prove you are no longer poor. This is fatal. The concept of the margin of safety is the cornerstone of value investing. It means building a buffer against bad luck. In our personal lives, this translates to living below our means. If I earn $3,000 a month and spend $3,000 a month, I'm not building wealth. I'm running on a treadmill. If I earn $3,000 and spend $3,100, I am digging my own financial grave. If I am starting from scratch in 2026, my priority is to avoid high-interest consumer debt like the plague. I have likened credit card interest to carrying a 20-pound sack of rocks on your back while trying to race. If you are paying 18% or 20% interest on credit cards, you are mathematically guaranteed to lose. No investment in the world can consistently pay you 20% risk-free. Paying off debt is the best investment I can make. My plan requires a period of austerity. It means cooking at home. It means driving a used car. It means ignoring the brands my friends are wearing. I am not being cheap. I am being a capital allocator. Every dollar I do not spend as a soldier, I can recruit to work for me later. You must fall in love with saving money. Not for the sake of hoarding, but for the sake of freedom. The gap between what I earn and what I spend is my potential for wealth. If there is no gap, there is no future. Albert Einstein is reputed to have called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. I call it the snowball. The concept is simple. You start with a small amount of wet snow and a very long hill. The wet snow is your savings. The long hill is time. When you start with zero, your snowball is microscopic. It feels insignificant. I might save $100 in a month and think, what is the point? This won't buy me freedom. But you are missing the magic. That $100 earns a return. And the next year, the return earns a return. My exact plan for 2026 involves understanding that the early days are the hardest because the results are invisible. It is like bamboo. For years, you water the ground and see nothing. Then suddenly, it shoots up 90 feet in 6 weeks. The growth happened underground the whole time. If I were 25 or 35 years old, my greatest asset is the decades ahead of me. A dollar invested today is worth exponentially more than a dollar invested 20 years from now. The plan is to automate this process. I do not rely on willpower. I set up my life so that a portion of my income disappears into an investment account before I even see it. I must pay myself first. If I wait to save what is left after spending, there will be nothing left. But if I spend what is left after saving, I will adjust my life to fit. It is a subtle shift, but it changes everything. As I begin to accumulate capital, that first $1,000, then $5,000, I will be tempted to speculate. I will hear about the next big technology, the next big pharmaceutical breakthrough, or a complex derivative trade. In 2026, the financial world is complex. My advice here is critical. Know your circle of competence. I do not need to be an expert on everything. I do not need to understand how a microchip is engineered or how a biotech drug interacts with proteins to make money. I only need to be right about a few things that I truly understand. If starting from zero, my plan avoids complexity. If I don't understand how a company makes money, I do not buy it. If I cannot explain the investment to a 10-year-old, I do not touch it. For the vast majority of people, and I've said this repeatedly, the best way to own businesses is not to pick into winners, but to buy the whole basket an S&P 500 index fund. This is a bet on American business. It is a bet that over time, human ingenuity, productivity, and population growth will lead to higher corporate profits. It is boring, it is simple, and it outperforms almost all professional hedge fund managers over the long run. My plan for 2026 is not to be smarter than the market. It is to be the market by buying a low-cost index fund. I am buying a slice of the 500 largest, most profitable companies. I let them do the work for me. The stock market is a manic depressive business partner. I call him Mr. Market. Some days, Mr. Market is euphoric and offers to buy my shares for a high price. Other days, he is depressed and fearful, offering to sell me shares for pennies. The greatest danger to my wealth in 2026 will not be the economy. It will be my own emotions when the market drops 20%. And it will eventually, my instinct will be to flee. I will want to sell everything to stop the bleeding. This is the moment I destroy my wealth. My plan requires me to invert my thinking. When you go to the supermarket and see that hamburger meat is on sale for 50% off, you do not run out of the store screaming. You buy more. Yet when the stock market goes on sale, people run away. If I am a net saver, which I am, since I am building from zero, I should want the market to go down. I want to buy assets cheaply. I want my hard-earned dollars to purchase more shares, not fewer. The wise investor cultivates a temperament of indifference to daily price swings. I must look at the market as a servant, not a master. If stocks crash in 2026, my plan is not to sell. The plan is to keep buying, keep dollar cost averaging, keep shoveling snow onto my snowball. This requires a strength of character that is rare, but it is the defining trait of the wealthy. Let me share a story that I often use to explain investing. Imagine I buy a farm. It is a good farm. It has fertile soil, a sturdy barn, and it produces a healthy crop of corn every year. Now, imagine that every single morning, a neighbor stands at my fence and yells out a price. I'll give you $2,000 an acre. He shouts on Monday. On Tuesday, he is feeling gloomy and yells, I'll only give you $800 an acre. On Wednesday, he is excited again and offers $3,000. Would I sell my farm just because the neighbor yelled a low price on Tuesday? Would I rush to buy more just because he yelled a high price on Wednesday? Of course not. I would look at the farm itself. Is the corn growing? Is the harvest good? Is the soil healthy? I would focus on the output of the asset, not the shouting of the neighbor. The stock market is the neighbor. The companies I own are the farm. If I own an index fund, I own a piece of thousands of farms. Apple, Microsoft, Coca-Cola. They are producing goods, selling services, and making profits. That is the corn. The daily stock price is just the neighbor yelling at the fence. My plan for 2026 is to be the farmer, not the neighbor. I watch the crop. I ignore the shouting. As long as the businesses are profitable over the long term, the price will eventually reflect that value. We have discussed the philosophy. Now, let's move to the concrete actions for my 2026 plan. Action step 1 is the audit. I cannot manage what I do not measure. If I'm starting at zero, I need to know exactly where every cent is going. For 1 month, I track every single transaction. Coffee, subscription services, rent, transport, everything. Most people are shocked by what they find. They realize they are bleeding money in ways they didn't notice. This isn't about guilt. It's about data. Once I have the data, I can make rational decisions. Can I cut that subscription I haven't used in 6 months? Can I prepare meals on Sunday for the rest of the week? I am famous for my frugality, not because I have to be, but because I respect the value of capital. I live in the same house I bought in 1958. I eat a simple breakfast. I don't need to impress anyone. My goal in this audit is to find the leaks in my bucket and plug them. I need to free up cash flow to begin my investing journey. Find the waste. eliminate it, and redirect it toward my future. Action step 2 is automation. We are human. We are emotional, forgetful, and prone to temptation. Therefore, I cannot rely on my willpower to save money. I must build a machine that does it for me. In 2026, I set up an automatic transfer from my checking account to a savings or brokerage account. It should happen the day after I get paid. If I get paid on the 1st, the transfer happens on the 2nd. Start small if you have to. Even if it is $50, the amount matters less than the habit. By removing the money before I see it, I force myself to live on the remainder. I will be surprised at how quickly I adapt. I won't miss the money because I never truly had it in my pocket. Over time, as my skills improve and my income grows from step 1, I increase this automatic transfer. I maximize my tax-advantaged accounts first. Like a 401k or an IRA, this is the engine of wealth. It runs in the background, quietly, efficiently, relentlessly. While I sleep, while I work, while I spend time with family, my automatic machine is buying shares, planting seeds, and building my farm. The plan I have outlined is not sexy. It will not make you a millionaire by February. It does not involve leverage, hype, or secret formulas. It involves hard work, spending less than you earn, and investing the difference in productive assets over a long period of time. This is the difference between getting rich and being wealthy. Getting rich can happen by accident or luck. Being wealthy is a state of mind and a result of discipline. It is about sleeping well at night. It is about knowing that if the car breaks down, you can pay for it. It is about having the freedom to do what you love. I did not accumulate 99% of my wealth until after my 50th birthday. The vast majority of my fortune came later in life. I just kept the snowball rolling. I didn't interrupt it. I didn't melt it down to buy a fancy toy. In 2026, you are at the top of your own hill. The snow is wet. The path is long. It might seem daunting to start with zero, but zero is just a starting line. Every great fortune in history started with a single decision: to save and invest. You have the map, you have the tools. The only variable left is you. Investing is simple, but not easy. It requires you to fight your own human nature. It requires you to be patient when the world is in a hurry. But the reward is a life of independence. If you found value in this quiet approach to money, and if you want to continue learning the timeless principles of wealth alongside me, consider sticking around. We don't chase trends here, we chase wisdom. There is a Chinese proverb that says, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Don't let the zero in your bank account define you. Let it motivate you. Plant your tree today. Water it with patience. And one day, you and the people you love will sit in its shade. Thank you for watching. Be wise, be patient.